Hell, I'm not sure what I'm doing here, but welcome. Today we're going to be looking, as always, into the future right before the set comes out. Before we get into today's video, of course, I want to just mention that August 1st, Saturday, is coming up, and at 8:30 a.m. CEST on twitch.tv/DifferentFight, we're going to be doing the usual hype pack opening stream for set 9 in JP, as well as set 6 that we're going to take a look at today for the English server. So please do come on in 8:30 a.m. CEST for the big hype. We're trying as usual to break our record, or at least hit 1,000 concurrent viewers at a certain point during the stream, so please do come in and join the hype. It's always crazy. There's always some kind of meme that gets born. Last time it was like the chair pulling me a god pack, and you know, it's always a crazy time, so I really recommend coming in. It's just overall a fun time, and it's a Saturday, so this time it's a weekend, so more of an opportunity to hop on in. But today we're going to be taking a look at set 6. So this set really brought in quite a lot of cards for the game and gave limit break support to a lot of clans. I think it was the set with like the most amount of just like straight up just clans, so it was really a lot of support. So we're going to look at things in the order that they show up, and so first we're going to take a look at OTT, who got Battle Sisters as support. So Battle Sisters already were existing, you know, Cocoa and the PG, you know, there was a few Battle Sisters already in there, but they added the whole archetype basically. So Battle Sisters got a starter, which is Waffle. So Battle Sister Waffle is a Forerunner and Counterblast 1. You may put her into the Soul and look at the top 3 cards of your deck and choose a Battle Sister from among them and call it. So this is a nice way to just like cheat out your Battle Sisters basically and fill up your board. Of course, she is a Battle Sister name herself, which is very important for this build. Like for Battle Sisters as an archetype, I already did a deck and fight on this if you want to check it out. This is basically an archetype that really cares about having a certain archetype name unit on the board a certain amount of time. So we call this a xenophobic archetype deck, and so Battle Sisters is kind of like the first one to introduce this kind of xenophobia to the game. Not like xenophobia obviously as not necessarily a bad thing, but can also be a good thing. So that's the starter. Then in terms of other cards that they received, I believe this was in the previous set. Yes, that definitely was in the previous set. The stuff that came in this set is the Battle Sister Candy. This is the self-damager for OTT, but it has Battle Sister in its name, which is of course very good for all the limit break archetypes. Then they also receive Battle Sister Cream, who is the, when she boosts Battle Sister Cookie, who is a grade 3, you may Soul Blast 1 and she gains plus 5k for that battle. So 11k booster for Battle Sister Cookie, who is a 10k base grade 3. That gets plus 5k if you're on limit break on the Vanguard circle. So this can lead to some big attacks, but again, it's the Battle Sister name that we care about to manage to fulfill the condition. Then these cards came in set 8, so we're gonna skip ahead here and take a look at right here. Battle Sister Macaron. So Battle Sister Macaron is a double rare, 9k grade 2, who says during your turn, if your Vanguard is a Battle Sister, gains plus 3k. So even if it's a grade 2 Battle Sister, this will gain plus 3k, just like how, you know, Bedivere gains 3k when you have a Blaster Vanguard, even if it's a grade 2. So this, of course, is a very important card for Battle Sisters. Run as a 4 of generally. As you can see, I'm quite unfortunate, I only have 1, but this card is definitely very important for Battle Sisters because it helps you have good enough columns to hit over 10k base grade 2s and all that other stuff, and overall just nice card overall, so definitely a good one to have and pretty self-explanatory. Battle Sisters also have Tart, who is a 10k vanilla, so you have archetype specific vanillas as well, and then also Battle Sister Caramel, who is the self-damager on grade 2s that is also Battle Sisters, so again, very important. Then we get into the grade 3s, and the main grade 3 for the deck is Battle Sister Fromage. So Battle Sister Fromage has 2 skills. First, she has her Limit Break, which says Limit Break 4, so when you're 4 damage, if you have 3 or more Battle Sister Rear Guards, so Rear Guards specifically, you may Counterblast 2 to draw 2 cards. Just like that. That's actually very good effect. CB2 for 2 draw is very nice, and having 3 Rear Guards is pretty easy, because usually you'll have like, you know, like maybe 2 grade 1s and a grade 2, that's it, you got 3. If you're on the starter, then the starter plus 2 more units, and there you go, you got the condition. You just need to like self-damage into it sometimes if they keep you on 3 or something. Then her second skill is a very interesting skill because it says, when you have 4 or more Battle Sister Rear Guards, she gains plus 4k during both turns. So she's 15k on your opponent's turn as well, which means that if you have, for example, 2 Battle Sisters in the front, 3 in the back, that's 5. Then when they attack your Interceptor, you go down to 4. And if your other front row grade 3, for example, front row rear guard is a grade 3, for example, they don't necessarily have to take it out because it doesn't have intercept. So they could attack you, but then your Vanguard is 15k base, so they have to boost forward or take out the other rear guard to bring her down to 11. So I really like that actually, that this deck Like, when it came out, it was just kind of like a gimmick, but now in JP, people use Battle Sisters as a counter to Aqua Force, because Aqua Force has to attack Vanguard for their first attack, and then a lot of their swings, like, sometimes struggle to even make 15, so they have to, like, focus on the rears and stuff, and you can always replenish them because you run so many Battle Sisters, and so Aqua Force actually kind of struggles against this deck, and it's really funny. So that passive 4K is very, very important, and of course the Counterblast 2 to draw 2 is, of course, also very great. Then, there's Battle Sister Cookie, the backup grade 3. Limerick 4, when attacks Vanguard for that battle, gains 5k, so we already talked about this. And Vanguard Circle, when placed, you may Counterblast 2 to draw 2 cards and discard 1. So, like, not as good as Battle Sister Fromage, but you don't have to be a limit break for this skill, which is very nice. You can just ride her when you're on 2 damage and get yourself an extra draw, which is very nice. And this works well with Coco as well, which leads to the birth of the Coco Cookie deck that got a bit of traction, but not that much. Then also, there's the Sairando Silent Magus. When she attacks the Vanguard, plus 2k, so 12k attacker for OTT finally, which is very, very nice. And then the final Battle Sister is Soufflé, which is when she's boosted, she gains plus 3k, so you'll be running this as well, just for the name, as well as being able to be a 13k attacker. Then we move on to Gold Paladin. Gold's actually got some support here as well, with the introduction of Vortimer. This was my first ever competitive deck, Spectral Duke Dragon, back in 2012. I just played with trial decks until that point, and then finally I was like, it's time to get ready for regionals, and you know, I started going to my local card shop and local tournaments every week or so, and yeah, Spectral Duke was my first competitive deck. So, Vortimer. Grade 0 Vortimer says, when the Grade 1 Vortimer rides on top of him, you look at the top 7 cards of your deck, find either a Spectral Duke Dragon or the Grade 2 Vortimer among them and add it to your hand. If you do not find one, then you can call this card out of your soul. And then also, if a Grade 1 that is not the Grade 1 Vortimer rides this unit, you may also call him out of soul. And then of course, he has the very unique skill that all of these newly introduced Gold Paladins have, which is that this card can be played in the Shadow Paladin deck. So you have the birth of Shadow Duke, which is a very interesting build. I think I did a video on it, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure I did cover it in DifferentFight. So you can check that out if you're interested. It's very unique, let's put it that way. Then, moving forward, we received all these cards already out. Grade 1 Vortimer. Grade 1 Vortimer gets plus 1k permanently if you have the Grade 0 Vortimer in your soul. And then, when the Grade 2 Vortimer rides on top of him, you may retire one of your rearguard, so you have to call rearguard on the turn you ride him, and then look at the top 2 cards of your deck and call them to rearguard circles. So it's a direct +1, which is very, very strong. So this effect, of course, is amazing. One of the really good ride chains overall. Then we also have Raging Storm Pegasus, or just Raging Storm something. When placed when placed, Vanguard or Rearguard Circle, you may choose a card from your hand and put it into your soul. So this can like fix your like rides. You can use this to fix your cross ride and you know like other things. Or if you just need extra soul for like a Aggravating build, you can also use it for that. But this saw a bit of use in Duke, but I personally never really agreed with it too much. Then of course Grade 2 Vortimer. His skill is, when you have the Grade 1 Vortimer in your soul, he gains plus 1k permanently, and then when Spectral Duke Dragon rides on top of him, you may retire one of your rearguards to call 2 cards from the top of your deck to rearguard circles. So again, a +1 that adds up. It just like scales, like you call down an extra Grade 1 when you ride Grade 1, sack it, call 2. Next turn, ride Spectral Duke, sack it, call 2, and then Spectral Duke can retire them for the restand, which, you know, is what we're going to look at next. But, of course, very good card. Like, for the right chain, this is just amazing. And the deck is really fun, by the way, too. And I believe we also got this in this set, Gigantech Commander. So, during your turn, if you have more rearguards than your opponent, he gains plus 3k, and he can be played in Shadow Paladin. So, all the Vortimers plus this guy can be played in Shadow Paladin. I think he cannot. No, he cannot. Okay. So, it's just those ones. Then the final Grade 3, two new Grade 3s. We have Spectral Duke Dragon. So Spectral Duke Dragon, a very nostalgic card for a lot of people, and I mean for myself as well. So he gets plus 1k permanently when you have the Grade 2 Vortimer in your soul, and his Limerick 4 is once per turn, and the effect has changed from the paper version. When at the end of the battle that he attacked the Vanguard, if you're on Limit Break, Counterblast 2 and retire 2 rearguards, not 3, used to be 3, so only 2, and then you may stand this unit and draw 1 card. For that turn, this unit loses Twin Drive, so it only drive checks once. So, of course, this is very strong because actually this is the first ever restand Vanguard that does not need to hit to restand. So the end had to hit to restand. Spectral Duke doesn't care. You can be a 5, get PG'd, sack 2 rearguards, restand. That's all you need to do. So that's what made this card very strong, and it was actually quite popular when it came out in JP, and stayed relevant for a good couple months actually before Crossfights came along and just made it very hard for him to keep up, unfortunately. But yeah, so he's a very, very good card overall. And of course, he can also be played in Shadow Paladin. And then the final card that can be played in Shadow Paladin and Gold Paladin is Gigantic Destroyer. I should also note that all of these cards, like Spectral Duke Dragon, have to be crafted, as you can see, with Gold Paladin materials. Even though they can be played in Shadows, you cannot craft them with Shadow materials. They have to be crafted with Gold Paladin materials. So his skill is just when he attacks the Vanguard, he gains plus 2k. So simple, but it is run because of that simple skill. Then let's take a look at, we got a very little piece of Narukami support, and it's pretty interesting. I believe this starter comes out in this set, Soko. His skill is, this unit is, cannot boost rearguard, so only boost the Vanguard. I'm not sure, maybe it came out the set afterwards, but it's a starter. Let's just keep it at that. Then, let's take a look here. I believe this one came out here. So during the opponent's turn, loses 4k, so on your turn it's a 10k booster, but of course you have the starter that can remove skills, so you can keep him as a 10k grade 1 forever. And then you also have the Roro, so when he's placed, you can seal one of your other rearguard's abilities. So this is interesting, again, for the Jins and stuff like that, that you can seal abilities for, so that's quite cool. Then, let me see here, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the Stormbring Dragon was introduced in this set. Stormbring Dragon actually becomes kind of like a must-have for Narukami for every build, more or less, because this guy says, on Vanguard and Rearguard, when the attack hits a Vanguard, you may count almost 1 and look at the top 5 cards of your deck for a grade 3 and add it to your hand. So, as we enter this like cross-ride meta in JP, where Dungaree wants to go from the first Dungaree to the cross-ride at Unlimited, Vermilion wants to go from normal Vermilion to the Blood, you start running this guy because sometimes you open up your hand with only the Unlimited or only the Blood. So then you gotta find the other grade 3, and this guy helps you do that. So he's only run as like a 2 or 3 in most lists, but he's still a very good card, and he can also help you find your deities for Indra, which is the build here. And then speaking of which, we have 1000 Name Wyvern Knight. It's like his name is written in like regular Japanese, but then they write it in the English pronunciation on top because like it just sounds like nonsense if you read it in Japanese otherwise. So his skill is, if your Vanguard is a noble, so that's a trait. So you see here, his trait is human. So if your Vanguard is a noble, you may Soul Blast 1. For that turn, this unit is has the same card name as your Vanguard. So this will be very important for Indra. So that's a good card to support that. And then taking a look at these nobles, we have the first noble that I think, this is a noble, I think this might have been already in set 5, but you know, just in case, let's take a look at it anyway. So during your turn, if you have more rearguards than your opponent, plus 3k on Vanguard Circle, and on Rearguard Circle just plus 1k, but it's a noble, so that is important. And then the main noble is Indra. So Indra says, when it attacks the Vanguard, and it's only 10k base and it is a noble, you may counterblast 1, and for that battle, for each of your Indras on the field, so for each of your other Indras, so rearguards as well as the grade 2 we looked at, I can copy the name, he gains +1 critical. So this can be like a 3 crit beat stick, which is very, very threatening. And then his other skill is, for each of your nobles, he gains +1k on both turns. So he can be pretty tanky like that, but it's a pretty okay card. This does not really last too long. The final noble we have is the Vayu. Vayu is when he attacks, counterblast 1, and for that turn, if for each of your other Vayus, if he's on Vanguard Circle, gains +10k, so instead of crit, gains power, and then for each of your other nobles, he gains +1k also permanently, so during both turns. So that's it for Narukami. I think Indra gets introduced in this set, if I'm not mistaken. If not, it's going to be the next one, but I'm pretty sure it's this one. Alright, so there's that. Nova Grappler. They released an archetype for this that was pretty hyped up, which is Death Army. So they got full on support. You have Death Army Pawn. So he's Forerunner, and you may rest a Death Army Rearguard, and then for that turn, give that unit you rested +2k. And this skill basically works that you don't have to rest just one Death Army Rearguard, you can rest like 10. I also only now realize I have the game sound muted, so you'll hear a change in the game tone or background music at this point. But so his skill works that it says you can rest just one Death Army, but you can actually rest like 4 and give all 4 rearguards plus 2k. So it's a pretty nice skill because Death Army works by resting and restanding your rearguards in the main phase, which is very, very nice. So then, looking at other Death Armies that got newly introduced, we have, I believe, Rocket Hammerman was introduced already. So we have Death Army Bishop. Death Army Bishop is once per turn, rearguard circle, counterblast 1, and choose 2 of your Death Army rearguards and stand them. So you rest them for the starter or for other effects, and you restand them. Keep in mind the old Cosmo Lord also can do that. Then also, I think self-damagers get introduced in this set too. So this is just, you know, self-damage, nothing too special. And then for other grade 2s, we actually have a few here. I think the Marvelous Honey was already introduced, yes. 10k vanilla for Death Army. So this is again another Death Army name. This deck also, as you'll notice, it says stand your Death Armies, rest your Death Armies. It's very xenophobic. So we have Death Army Knight. During your main phase, if he is placed on rearguard circle, you may choose 2 of your Death Army rearguards and stand them. So this one doesn't cost counterblast. Like the Bishop, the Knight just says, call it. If it's in the main phase that you called it, restand 2 rearguards. So you can use skills to rest stuff and then call him down, stand them back up. So that's very, very nice. Then this is the Heroic Honey. So this is the self-damager. Also gets introduced in this set, I believe. And then, of course, Death Army Cosmo Lord gets a buff, becomes 11k base to match, you know, just to be good enough to ride before you ride the Death Army Cosmo Lord. So that's worth to note. And then Death Army Cosmo Lord, so the cross-ride version. So this is a cross-ride with the old Cosmo Lord, which was not the case in the TCG. This was a 10k base card with no cross-ride back then. His Vanguard, he has 2 skills. Vanguard Circle, you may rest 2 Death Army rearguards, and then for that turn, this unit gets plus 5k power. This isn't once per turn, by the way, so you can rest 4 to gain plus 10, or rest 2, call something like a Knight, or use the Bishop to restand 2, and then use the skill again to rest them again. Then, he has a limit break, once per turn, counterblast 2. You stand all of your rear guards, and if you stood 4 or more, this unit gets, for that turn, +1 critical. When this card was first revealed in a data mine back in like December, people lost their minds because they were like, oh my god, it's a cross-ride, it gains a crit, it's so insane. Turns out it's not that great. Even though it does have a like permanent crit, it's a very clunky deck. It doesn't plus that much in terms of like just raw drawing. Like there's not really many draw cards in this deck, and that makes it kind of clunky, and you can't really splash other non-Death Army cards in it to make it better, so that's quite unfortunate. And then Death Army Commander is a new grade 3, which basically said when you drive check a grade 3, you may stand him, just like Death Army Guy and Lady. So it's also pretty nice. And then I believe we also got the Hollow Nomad, which is just 20 attacks Vanguard plus 2k, so that's another card. And then this one also, the Moai the Great, Moai the Great, when he's boosted plus 3k. So these are the very generic grade 3s. So Novas get Death Army. The archetype is sadly not that great. Like Battle Sisters have this, you know, ability to tank other units by being 15k on the opponent's turn. This deck not so much. Same goes for Nobles. I didn't talk about Nobles enough, but they really are not all that great. So this set does introduce some slightly subpar archetypes. Alright, and then arguably the like second face of this set is Dark Irregulars. They got a lot of big support leading up with Reiji, of course, as well. The new starter is Greedy Hand, who is a Forerunner and has the skill combust 1 and put him into the soul to search your deck for any grade 2 or less and put it into your soul, which lets you set up for with like Dimension Creepers and stuff like that, which are very, very useful in this build. So that's a very, very good starter. Then moving forward, we have Dimension Creeper that I just mentioned. He has an in-soul ability. You may put him into the drop zone and soul charge 2. So you give up 1 soul to put 2 in, but as I said, you can search this with Greedy Hand and just accelerate soul really, really, really quick. So that makes this pretty damn good, I would say. Then they also got Yellow Bolt, which is also a very good card. You may rest him to soul charge 1. So on turn 1, you can just like call 2 of these dudes and soul charge 2 already and just do that every turn and just boost your soul like crazy and reach that huge soul requirement for Bladewing Reiji. So Yellow Bolt is a very great card. Then they also introduced the Demon Bike. So the Demon Bike, Demon Castle, and Demon Chariot, whatever, like the grade 2. I always forget the grade 2. So Demon Bike says, rearguard circle, during your turn, for each Demon Bike in your soul, this unit gets plus 2000 power. If you have 3 or more Demon Bikes in your soul, he gains a critical. So you can attack with a crit, which is pretty nasty. If you attack them when they're on 3 damage, this will actually proc their PGs as well, even if it's on rearguard, which is very, very nice for that reason. And then his on-place Vanguard and rearguard skill is you may add 1 Demon Bike to your deck. So you basically add extra cards into your deck, and this way you, like, first you prevent deck out, and second, you add more copies of this card to your deck, which then can be used to power up some more. So that's also quite nice. I believe we got this card as well. When the boosted attack hits a Vanguard, it soul charges 1, so it has to boost, and then you get a soul charge. Very nice. Then this guy, Rune Weaver. When placed Vanguard Rearguard Circle, you may choose one card from your hand and put it into your soul, which is alright. You don't really want to be putting it from from hand, but rather from your deck. Then we have the Self-Damager for Dark Regulars. And then we have the when boosted and the attack hits, you may return him back to your hand. So it's just one of those generic cards. Then moving forward, we got the like Maiden of Libra clone. So when its attack hits, counterblast 2 to draw a card. Don't really have the counterblast for this kind of effect, but you do have the counterblast for this kind of effect, which is Emblem Master. Emblem Master is a Vanguard and Rearguard Circle, grade 2. When his attack hits the Vanguard, you may counterblast 1 to soul charge 3. That's pretty big. Like, that really helps you accelerate your soul. So Emblem Master really puts in a lot of work. Like, really does. Then we also have the Free Traveler. Free Traveler is also a very important card for this deck. When placed on Vanguard or Rearguard Circle, counterblast 1 to search your deck for any grade 2 or less and put it into your soul. So again, you can search out those dimensional creepers to just soul blast them out and soul charge more. So very good for that very reason. Then we have this grade 2 Succubus. If you have 6 or more soul, she gains plus 4k during both turns. She'll be 12k based on your opponent's turn. Then we have the red Magma. When it attacks, if you have 6 or more soul, you may draw 1 and put 1 card from your hand on the bottom of your deck, which is pretty nice as well. Then we have this demon thingy. When it attacks, then we have this demon caravan. I always forget what this one is because I don't remember how the kanji is pronounced. So during your turn, for each one of these cards in your soul, gets plus 2k. If you have 3 or more, gains a crit, just like the demon bike. And when placed, you may put one of these demon, thingies, grade 2s, back into your deck. So just like the demon bike. So exact same effect across all of these. So the grade 1 and 2 are like, okay. You don't really want to be flooding your deck with them that much. So there's a grade 3 counterpart that became quite a meme in my chat. That is much better. Then we have the Narechi Toranka. Narej Dranger? I'm not sure how you would pronounce that in English, but when its attack hits, if you you may put 1 card from hand into your soul and then draw 1 card. So this is an interesting card where instead of like discarding 1, drawing 1, you're technically actually making an advantage into your soul too. So if this was on a grade 1 effect, that'd be really great, but it is on a grade 2 and it's 8k base, so it's kind of whatever. Then we have Beast in Hand. This is the Self-Damager, grade 2. And then finally we have Cyber Beast. This is the anti-piracy shark. If you're caught pirating by him, let's just say you're not going to be doing much else with your life. When his attack hits a Vanguard, if you have 4 or more other rear guards, draw a card. So that's nothing too special. Then moving on, we have all the new cards. So I think this guy was new when he's boosted for that battle, gains plus 3k. And then we have Bladewing Reiji. So this is the main grade 3 for the deck now. And his skill says, during your turn, if you have 15 or more soul, he gains plus 15,000 power, plus 2 crit. So when your opponent's at 2 damage and you attack with him, that will already ask for a PG. So this is the ultimate like counterblast denial deck, and it can actually reach this not that difficultly because you can just go Yellow Bolt, Surge Dimension Creeper, Soul Charge, and just there you go, 15. And he helps that himself too, because when you ride him, you can choose 1 card that's on your rearguard circle and search for up to 3 copies of that card from your deck and put them into your soul. So if you call a Dimension Creeper, you can ride him, select Dimension Creeper, put 3 of them into your soul, and voila, you can convert that 3 soul into 6, which is very nice to make this even faster. So it's very good as well. Then we have the meme himself, Demon Chariot. Chariot says, during your turn, for each of your Demon Chariots in your soul gains plus 2k power, and if you have 3 or more gains a crit, so just like the other 2. But his other skill is Vanguard and Rearguard Circle. When placed, you may add a Demon Bike, the grade 2 Demon... it's not a Chariot, but it's the other thing, and the Demon Chariot, this grade 3, back into your deck. Now, why is this effect better than the other 2? Because this one is a trigger. So you can assign him as your heal trigger, and then when you call him, you basically put an extra heal trigger back into your deck. And as many more of him you call, the more heal triggers you put back, which is nice for helping you survive. So that's definitely a nice effect, and it's just multiplying heal triggers. You can't ask for more. As a backup grade 3, we got a double rare, which is Dark Lord of Abyss. Candleblast 2, Vanguard Circle, and Persona Blast. So that's pretty heavy. Soul Charge 2, and for that turn, for each card in your soul gains plus 1k, and if you have 6 or more soul, gains a crit. So it's meant to be like an 11k base Amon, but isn't Amon 11k base himself right now? Yeah, he is. They made him 11k base. So it's like, it's an Amon with like a different approach. But Candleblast 2 and Persona Blast, that's pretty heavy to me, especially since you don't like retire anything or draw any cards. Like, you know, you're losing a card from hand and 2 Candleblast for 2 soul that you can get super easily, and a crit, like, I don't know, and some power, I guess. And then of course we have the Bajalisk, so when he attacks Vanguard, gains 2k. So there's that. Then, final clan, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be just Pale Moon, which was my main hype from this set back when it first came out. I believe that is indeed the case. So Pale Moon got quite a few nice new cards. We have Smiling Presenter, so use a Forerunner, and in Rear Circle we put him into your soul to look at the top 10 cards of your deck and put one of them into your soul. So this is a really good effect, of course, because it lets you just tutor out stuff out of your deck, and that's already like a third of your deck at that point in time, so pretty damn good. And then my favorite starter for Pale Moon is Girl Who Crossed the Gap. She is a Forerunner as well, and she has the skill -1, put her into the soul, and then you may take anything from your soul that is not Girl Who Crossed the Gap and call it. So I like this card a lot because it combos well with Purple Trapezes to make a lot of power bonuses on your Lukier and other cards that can do that in the future. Then, moving on to other cards that have been introduced, I think you were already introduced in the past. We have the Fire Juggler. So Fire Juggler says, when the attack, if she boosted the Vanguard, and during the Vanguard's attack, you drive checked a grade 3, at the end of that battle, you put her into your soul, and you choose a card from your soul that is not Flame, Fire Juggler, and call it. So why would you use this? You basically use this to like attack rear into rear unboosted, and then you use, if you drive check a grade 3, you can call out another attacker and just swing to Vanguard for lethal, for example. So that's, she is actually used sometimes, so she's pretty cool. A card that was amazing in the TCG, but doesn't seem to have come up much in Zero is Magician of Quantum Mechanics. His skill is -1, put him into the soul, and then choose a card that is not Magician of Quantum Mechanics from your soul and call it. At the end of the turn, the unit that you called from your soul goes back into your soul, and Magician of Quantum Mechanics comes back out. So it's meant to be again like a Girl Who Crossed the Gap, to just like go into your purple trapezes, but turns out it's not necessary. So I guess it makes sense because you're more limited in space, but unfortunate. Another card that was run in TCG but isn't in Zero is the Jumping Glen. When she's placed from soul, she gains +3k for that turn, so it's 10k booster, pretty useful for making nice columns, but that's about it. Then we have the Dreamy Armor Knight. So during your opponent's turn, if it was retired, you can call a Dreamy Armor Knight to the same rearguard circle. So this one doesn't do as much, but there is a grade 2 that does this, which means not really infinite intercepts, but looping intercepts, which is pretty good. Then we have the Pinky Piggy, that's what it's called. When the boosted attack hits, you may return it back to hand, so just a bouncer. Then we have, when it boosts a Rakil, you soul +1 to gain 5k, so Rakil is a grade 3 that we'll take a look at later. So that's the grade 1s. Let's move on to grade 2s. We have, was this introduced? No, I think this was introduced before. Okay, first we have the Cycling Actor. When placed for that turn, give another unit +2k. I think this is actually the old set too. Okay, we start from here then. The Carry. So this is the Fire Breath Carry. When the attack hits, count +2, draw a card. So a Maiden of Libra clone, not really used in Zero, but a card that is of course used very much is the Dancing Princess. Dancing Princess says, Vanguard and Rearguard Circle, when placed, count +1, search your deck for any grade 2 or less and add it to your soul. So this is very good because you can search Purple Trapezist, you can search Crimson Beast Tamer, Dreamy Fortress, just a bunch of great cards that you can use to pair up with this ability. So very, very nice for that very reason. And a card that I almost missed because I didn't pull any of it is Dreamy Fortress, which is basically a staple in Lukier. There's two builds of Lukier, one that is the more aggressive one with Crimson Beast Tamer, and the more tanky one with Dreamy Fortress. What does Dreamy Fortress do? When it is retired during your opponent's turn, you can choose a Dreamy Fortress from your soul and call it to the same rearguard circle. So basically, your opponent attacks the Dreamy Fortress, and it just goes, okay, here I come back out. and that's it. And then it just does that again and again and again until you run out of Dreamy Fortresses in your soul, or if your opponent's Narukami and they just intercept Seal, then none of them come out, because they don't get retired. But yeah, so Dreamy Fortress is a great card against most decks because it just tanks, and Lukier's ability says every time something comes out of your soul to rearguard circle, she gains 3k, so Lukier also becomes more tanky, so that pairs up very, very well. Then we have the Self-Damager, the Grade 2 Self-Damager. And we also have the Drawing Dread. When his attack hits a Vanguard, if you have 4 other rearguards, draw a card. So every clan gets this, basically. Then we, of course, have Lukier herself. So the original Lukier is buffed a little bit, is 11k base now. And Limit Break 4, well, first let's look at her non-Limit Break skill. It says, when your rearguard is placed on from Soul, she gains plus 3k for that turn. So every time you call a rear out of your soul, she gains 3k. Your turn, your opponent's turn, doesn't matter. That's why she works with Dreamy Fortress on your opponent's turn. So, of course, this ability is very great because it lets you break over defensives. I actually used this deck in the Last Chance Qualifier for the Vanguard Zero Championship in JP when this deck came out. I believed in it a lot and it didn't come through. Or rather, Alice didn't come through. But yeah, so this ability on its own is very good because you can scale in power to get over defensives, which is very, very nice. Then her first skill, of course, Limit Break 4, Candlemas 2, used to be 3, is so Candlemas 2, and you may choose a grade 0, 1, 2, and 3 from your soul and call them to rearguard circles. And of course, you don't have to choose 0, 1, 2, 3. You can call just like 0, 1, 2, or just 1, 2, 3, or just 1, 2, whichever you wish. But I would recommend calling at least 2 cards, otherwise it's not really worth the Candlebots investment. You could instead put the Candlebots into Alice or Girl Across the Gap or something else. So that's just me kind of telling you something. But oh my god, that was awkward. But anyway, Lukier is a really great card. The deck is actually very strong on release. It's in JP, it was rated really highly when it first came out. So I think for that reason alone, it's pretty good. It's pretty damn good. So yeah, have fun with Lukier, have fun with Pale Moon. We have a few more cards to take a look at though, it's not over yet. We have this Wyvern. When it attacks on Vanguard Circle, discard 1 to gain 6k. When it attacks on Rearguard, discard 1 to gain 3k. So it doesn't really matter. 12k attacker, Midnight Invader. This is Run and Pale Moon. And then we have a new Nightmare Doll, which is Amy. Main phase, beginning of main phase, soul charge 1 for that turn, gain 2k. And then when the attack hits a Vanguard, you may soul blast 6 and count blast 4 to put all of your rear guards into your soul, and then call 5 cards from your soul on rearguard circles. So basically, you get to refresh your field and go for more attacks. But keep in mind, this is after the Vanguard hits, therefore any trigger powers go to waste. So that's something to keep in mind. Then we have Sarah, Sword Magician Sarah. She was a pretty popular double rare, I believe, back in the day. And so her skill, it says, when you drive check a grade 3, you may put a grade 3 or higher rearguard into your soul, and then choose a card from your soul and call it to a rearguard circle without a unit. So you can basically extend it to more attacks, which is very nice, but it is quite luck reliant, just like Goku, for example. But it's still a pretty interesting deck. It's a fun budget deck, let's put it that way. And when she's boosted on Vanguard Circle, she gains plus 3k power, so you can hit for 21 if you have an 8k boost. Then we have the Ramil that I talked about earlier. Limit Break, when it attacks Vanguard, gain plus 5k. And then with Vanguard Circle, when placed, Candlemas 2, and choose a card from your soul and call it. So a little bit underwhelming. It's nice for budget, but honestly, it's just a little bit underwhelming, and that's what I don't really like about this card too much. But then a double rare that's very nice, actually, is Farah. So the Starlight Melody Tamer Farah has a Vanguard Circle skill, Persona Blast, Soul Charge 2, and call 1 card from your soul and give the unit plus 3k power. This skill is nice just because it's like, it doesn't cost Counterblast, you gain some soul, and you know, you get to Superior Call something usually grade 2 that can pair up into other stuff. So she's a good backup grade 3, I would say, for a lot of decks. So I think she will actually be coming up a fair bit. And that basically concludes it. So we took a little bit of time to go through everything, but that should be everything. I believe we had like, what, 6 clients to look at? So Pale Moon, Pale Moon, Dark Irregulars, Nova Grappler, Narukami, Gold Paladin, and OTT. So 6 clients to take a look at. It's a big set. There's a lot of cards in it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and yeah, enjoy these sets. There's a lot of fun decks that come out of it. The meta doesn't get shaken up too much, but a little bit with some of these decks like Lukier and Battle Sisters that do kind of show up, especially Lukier and Reiji as well. Reiji does have a lot of potential, so enjoy experimenting with it. I want to see global players find out some new stuff that JP didn't, and it's time, so really looking forward to that. Alright, on that note, that's gonna be it for me today, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.